Let's go, everyone. Time to simp over Judy. I'm just messing with you. Stout is clearly superior. Wait, no, Pan Am. This might be a bit tough. Tell you what, out of those three, who'd you pick for your romance option? Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, I'm your pal Flix here, and it turns out Night City Wire 5 was the last Night City Wire, which explains why they've pulled out all the stops, including giving the press 16 hours to play the game and experience it fully. And from that, we've gotten a ton of info about how romances are going to work in Cyberpunk 2077, how they'll actually influence our gameplay and player choices. There's no leak stuff in these gameplay info vids, just in case you're wondering for the future. Now, if you enjoyed this video at any point, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe for more daily top quality content from your pal Flix. Now, before we go any further, we need to open up with the romance options aren't actually blocked by what life path you choose. Nomad, Street Kid, or Corporal, you'll be able to romance the same exact characters. We don't know if it will be easier or harder depending on your life path. The only thing that will 100% lock you out of your romances is your character's sexuality. Certain romance options might prefer male or female or etc. But worry not, my fellow gamers. Judy actually swings both ways. A guy or a girl can romance her. It's just easier for a girl apparently to romance Judy than it is for a guy, because it would take a bit further into gameplay for you to actually do it. How do we know this? We know this after the 16-hour gameplay that the press got to play, because you can get the option earlier on with a female. Now, we've gone quite a ways from back in 2019, where the Cyberpunk 2077's team, their vision for romances was that, and I quote, "Romances are a big part of gameplay. You can romance other characters, and it's up to you how deep those relations are. And unlike Geralt," I'm just joking, it's Geralt, I'm not that dumb, The Witcher 3's main protagonist, you define V's own sexuality, and certain characters have their own preferences. End quote, because I'm just going to shorten it a bit, because it just keeps going on and on about the same things pretty much. And from what we've heard from some people that tried romancing Judy during their 16 hours of gameplay, it definitely does take a while to actually build up those relationships. You could pretty easily mess them up also, but we'll get back to that later on. Anyways, the romances are more or less split into two different categories. You could think of it. You've got the meaningful ones that impact your gameplay and give you advantages and disadvantages and new routes, new story beats. Those are the ones such as Judy, Meredith, Pan Am, etc., which I'll get to later on. And they take a decent bit of time to actually build up an actual time commitment. And you've got the hook airs you can get off the streets, one night stands, which we've seen in that Xbox gameplay trailer, in the Styles trailer, and back all the way in the 48-minute demo. We've got quite a few trailers now that it's become a bit of a pain actually to list them all, to be honest with you. Anyways, the big question going through many people's head is, okay, but who can I romance? Well, back right after the Postcards of Night City trailer was actually released and shown to people, the developers of Cyberpunk took to Twitter, I believe, to explain that they had officially shown all romanceable characters at that point. So any new characters that we've seen after the Night City trailer, Postcards of Night City trailer, those are 100% not romance options. So who do we know we can romance, Flix? Well, let's start with Judy, because we actually know the most about Judy's romance so far, and it shows how romances will be treated in Cyberpunk 2077. It's a good baseline. So we know that Judy's a romance option. Oh my god, did you guys just hear she's a romance option? I couldn't believe that. Just messing with you. And we've gotten that for a while. Originally there was proof that leaned towards Judy being more of a female-only romance option. But from what we're hearing now, after 16 hours of pure gameplay that the press enjoyed, is that male V could also romance Judy. It might just be harder, because it seemed it would be a bit more harder to the person that was playing as a male, at least based on my take of how their 16-hour experience went. A female V could straight up flirt with Judy right off the bat, but they'll probably get shot down, similar to how another character, which we'll get to in a bit, right away when you try romancing her, she shoots you down the first time you try it. But Judy, she actually has a quest that's near and dear to her heart, where she needs your help to locate her friend, a missing friend of hers. And if you choose to help her, she appreciates it and even becomes a temporary companion and part of the quest with you. And she specifically asked to keep her updated on the search to find her friend. The previewer then that played it, he said that he felt that depending on how he was treating Judy, how he was interacting with her, it was actually impacting the relationship. Which, if you treat her well during this quest and help her, this creates a bond, a relationship, where she'll text you from time to time to check up on you and comment on something's happening in the quest. And if you ignore these texts or send negative replies, it kind of destroys that relationship. Which removes options to learn more about her and her story going forward, including the possibility of having more follow-up quests. Because he only, I believe, did 1 or 2 quests for Judy, and then he pretty much went straight to the story. You might even be able to get help in the main story because Judy's got a lot of influence with the Moxes after all, and she actually comments on things happening in the main story. You get texts like text saying, "Oh, hey, what's going on?" Then you tell her, and then she might give you a little bit a route you could take based on her experiences. Because, as I said, she has a lot of influence with the Moxes after all, which you might be able to use to your advantage in the main story. I don't know if you would be able to leverage how well or how you'd even leverage that versus someone like Stout and Militech. Oh, and you can also get some premium amazing scenes with Judy without having to pay off the streets like tiger dressed Hook Air. I wonder if that's going to get past YouTube or YouTube's still going to get mad at me. Which apparently from what the devs have said, those scenes are more graphic than what was shown in The Witcher 3 and different stances you could say. But just remember before you go too crazy that Johnny Silverhand is watching this whole thing. You don't want to scar the poor guy for life, okay? I'm just saying. That's a joke, okay? Some people don't really understand jokes. Anyway, speaking of using her to your advantage, let's talk about Meredith Stout, who I complained about her original redesign because her cheeks look like a pufferfish, literally. Apparently, they listened to not just me, but a lot of the community that was not very happy. Unfortunately for some of you, that she's still a blonde, but they redesigned her again, made her less old, more makeup, and just generally looks like what you'd expect from like a corporal higher up. Guess what? Stout is also another romance option, which we knew all the way back in the 48-minute demo. Which you'd assume that corporal background would at least have an easier time than another background, just based on how her character is. But this one's actually a little harder to get than Judy, because you can mess up the Stout romance right off the bat at the start of the game. Before you even know how much about playing the game, you can mess it up. Because Stout's a ticking clock pretty much. The second that Militech shipment got stolen, she was in trouble. She was, I don't know why, maybe she was in charge of logistics or something. But yeah, she got in a lot of trouble over that missing shipment, even though Militech didn't care much for it. Her last ditch effort was actually to use Hugh to get that cred chip into Maelstrom's terminal, so Militech can get into Maelstrom's systems, and therefore Militech doesn't dispose of her. So you have to side with Militech and get that cred chip into the terminal for her to stay. And then they'll probably open up a quest that you could do for her later on where she gets in more heat with the Militech. I think that's what's going to go on here. It's going to be more of a I use you, you use me type of relationship. But that makes the two of you more close, I guess, depending on choices and dialogue. Maybe she'll grow on you. Well, who knows? Now, with how easy it is to get rid of Stout, it's pretty obvious that Anthony Gilchrist would be another romance option. He'll only become available if you actually get rid of Stout, though, which he'll probably be one of the male romance options, I'm assuming. I mean, that's what I mentioned in my original video, alongside Dum Dum as possibly being another one, because Dum Dum just doesn't seem to serve a purpose right now, at least to me. And he's pretty much the likable one out of the whole Maelstrom group that we've seen, at least so far. It just fits, but who knows really. He could just be unique just for being likable. That's about it. Again, we haven't seen that many male options that you think to actually use as a romance option, unless you want to Smasher. That's another joke. I have to point out the jokes because people are going to take it literal. So it's going to be like, Oh my god, do you not know anything about Cyberpunk? Why are you saying I could smash her? The joke is smash her. Never some people. If you still don't get it, I honestly give up with you. The last 100% confirmed one is Panam. That's the name of the nomad lady that we saw multiple times now. So yeah, she's the nomad lady. You can actually flirt with her the first time you meet her, but she straight up shoots you down. But later on, after a bit, she actually needs your help with a mission of her own. Like I'm saying, most of these actually need their own missions associated with them. I'm not going to talk about that mission, though, because it's actually pretty cool, and I don't want to spoil it. And the only way that the previewer had explained that quest was pretty much a spoilery way, so I'm not going to go over that. But anyways, once again, you have to make some tough choices at the end of it, where you have to make A, B, C, and Panam would one of those choices, which would grow that relationship. Oh, and it was also confirmed that Misty, Jackie's girlfriend, could actually be a romance option somewhere down the line in the game. So rip our pal Jackie. Feels bad, dude. We feel you. And a quick couple popular ones that people mention a lot are Johnny Silverhand. Can I romance Johnny Silverhand? Which, no, he's not a romance option because he's a digital construct for one. He exists only inside your head. And two, the devs have confirmed he isn't one multiple times. So, yeah, no. Get that Johnny Silverhand fantasy out of your head. You can make him a friend. You can make him hate you, but he's not one of the romance options. Nope. And Jackie, who has his own girlfriend for one, and two, he's a goner for sure, buddy. He's a goner. Come on. The foreshadowing is too high for him not to be a goner. Did I actually just get interrupted by someone on Steam? I actually just got interrupted. No, I'm blocking you. So what we learned from the meaningful interactions of Panam, Judy, and Stout is that you'll need to be doing multiple quests for them, keep in touch, be nice, and maybe still get backstabbed, because we have no idea how bad backstabbing is going to be in this. Ouch, the romances are quite a commitment in Cyberpunk 2077. Honestly, dude, it seemed like an absolute pain. I don't blame the people that were completely stressing over the system. The system's pretty in-depth, which makes sense with how they've aimed to create a living, breathing world with living, breathing characters, NPCs in the game world. Which one way of making that happen, I guess, is making it a little bit more trivial and more of a large time commitment for the romances. On the bright side, though, they do give their opinions on things happening in the main story, which I hope, fingers crossed, knock on wood and all of that, might be used to open up new routes. I mean, it had a bit more of replayability, I guess. At the same time, the system might be pretty hard to put in there. I'm not really sure. They can also use it so we can learn more about these characters organically, rather than the RPG system like Skyrim, where every character just pours their heart out to you. You have to actually work for these stories now. You gotta pull up your sleeves and work for them. You gotta pick the right dialogue options for their quests, keep in touch, stay friendly, then probably do yet more quests. Everything has to the stars have to align perfectly. A little bit like real life. Cyberpunk 2077 confirmed real life simulator coming out in 2077. Anyways, they seem to hold higher up positions in factions, except for Misty. I have no idea what's the point in that unless she'll give you some sort of discount at the Ripper Dock. That's really all she does so far. As I was saying, with higher up positions that they hold, Judy being high up in the Moxes, Panam being pretty well liked in her Nomad group, which gives the feeling that they're pretty hostile to outsiders. I mean, that's kind of what the entire point of Nomads are, right? So she could be used as something like Veronica was for the Brotherhood of Steel in Fallout New Vegas, where she'll be the easy way into that group rather than the insanely hostile way in. Meredith and Gilchrist both having pretty decent positions in Militech could be, leveraged to your advantage, especially when you're taking on Arasaka, right? Use their main rival against them. And Dum Dum being the second in command of Maelstrom, at least that's how it seems. I mean, at the same time, couldn't you just maybe become friends with Rogue to get more? Actually, I'm not sure what. Actually, because I feel like Rogue would still have some sort of Militech contacts or something. I don't know. That might just be two different ways of leading you to the same route, which is getting help from Militech. I don't know. That could be like, some sort of branching option that both lead to the same thing. That's how RPGs work sometimes. So yeah, they'll provide you with some pretty good bonuses for actually going through all that trouble. Oh my god, including some really useful insight for the main story. Because remember that quote that was misunderstood about finishing the main quest without doing the main quest, where they came out and clarified after they meant side quests open up new routes in the main story. Now, their classification of quests is a little bit weird, but I think these like specific character quests also count as side quests. I'm not 100% sure about that. Having someone like Stout as a romance who has experience with corporations and militech could actually give you a hint through a text or something. It's like, hey, they're not actually calling a sit down. This is obviously a trap. Also, part of the community is like obsessed with Judy betraying you, which I get because half the community is like simping over Judy, and the other half is like, bro, you're getting betrayed. And there's people like in the middle like, what is this insanity? I've seen some theories that were like, Judy's a confirmed Darius undercover agent. No, there isn't these types of giant twists, ladies and gentlemen. Calm down a bit. We know that Night City is a bad place where you can't trust anyone. The reason you can't trust anyone, because they all have their own motives, as we saw when Judy wanted you to destroy those Tiger Claw bosses. Why? The Moxes and Tiger Claws are eating at each other's throats. Like, that's kind of the lower reason. Even Silverhand wants you to completely just destroy Arasaka. Even your own character has his own motive, which is get that chip out of my head. I want to live. I don't want to get destroyed. Anyways, if you enjoyed this video, you know what to do. Subscribe for more quality content like this one every single day at the same time-ish as usual, kind of. I got a couple things to do, but generally, I think I'm going to start working on that What Life Path Fits You Perfectly vid, but I don't think it's going to come out tomorrow. I have an idea what tomorrow's vid's going to be. Actually, I have a really good idea what tomorrow's vid's going to be, because I already have the thumbnail, but it might be 2 videos tomorrow. Maybe. I don't know. We'll wait and see. You can't ever predict. You can't predict this, because maybe I'll wake up and be like, yeah, okay, 2, or wake up and like, bro, I don't feel like doing 1, so I'll just do 1. That's kind of where we're at now. I'm pre-preparing 1 video a day, but if I need to make a second, I'm ready for it, just like I did yesterday. That way I have a daily video no matter what, but might need a second video. You never know.